I guess it's time to dig into a little bit more power production, and hopefully today we can actually get a little bit, well, get a lot more going than what we have had compared to that system over there. Hello everybody, this is Frogman. Welcome back to Captain of Industry. We started last time by starting to work, well, I guess we worked through last time trying to get a little bit of uranium ore processed via just hauling it in from a mine off of the map and then grinding it into uranium powder and then putting it through some settling tanks to make some, well, yellow cake. With a little bit of chemical, a little bit of a couple other things, we're making enriched uranium, which is getting processed into uranium fuel rods. We currently have about 144 of those sitting in our storages, and things are going reasonably okay and well. At least I hope they're going okay and well. We're doing the things that we need to do. We're starting to produce a little bit of a pile over here. I know this pile's not going to, it kind of looks pretty tall already, but this will start to spread out. And essentially what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of put it in a specific place where we could see how far the stacker can go. So I'm not overlapping too much as we drag this line down, because we're going to kind of just keep doing this. I forget the numbers. Don't worry about it. I'll see it here in just a short minute. We're having a little bit of trouble over here because we have a couple of trucks that continue to get a little bit of slag, and I keep telling them to put it someplace else. Do you have slag? No, you're okay. We're about out. Probably in between episodes, I'm going to have to start digging for some more of the limestone, because we're about out over here. I know it's kind of one of those stop and do a few things, but yeah, we have just this little teeny tiny area right there, a little teeny tiny area right there, and a little teeny tiny area right there. There's not a lot left in that hole. So what we're going to end up doing very soon, I'm just mining it. I've been mining it for a while, filling up a bunch of these storages over here. Once it's gone, we should have enough of the, well, we should have enough storage over here to be able to move possibly, and I'm assuming probably over to here. I'm going to have to figure out how or where I'm going to stick another storage in over here. I'm probably going to have to rebuild all of this as far as this goes, because we're going to end up digging a bunch of stuff up over here, but I'm going to have to figure another or find another place for a rail line in here. I might just kind of come off the side and go under this and build it like right over here, and then bring it back around and maybe join up with this like right here when the time comes. I think we could theoretically, if we needed to, like from here come off. I just don't want to do that from right there, because there is a this is the stopping zone for the trains, and I already made a third one, so we don't want to be backed up, because they will back up probably to about there. Probably come off about right here and then go under this and around and build the thing over here, and then come back around and grab it up right there. That's going to be for, well, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. It might be for a later date. It might be for right now, because there are other things we're going to have to work on. Anyhow, I have gone ahead and laid out another kind of a design for this stuff in the, well, with the thoughts that we should be able to then upgrade what we're going to be getting out of this system. So these two reactors, let's just put it like this. One reactor, and the reason why I'm building this is I'm going to build this so we can run these things absolutely wide open until we've achieved what we need. So what I mean by that is we're going to look at nuclear reactor 2, which is going to be the next research for this power. We have to create or produce 200 fuel, or 200 spent fuel. And then we're going to have to do whatever the amount of, 4,600 research on the research lab 3 or 2 or 4 or 5, whatever one we're on right now, in order to be able to then open up the nuclear reactor 2 and nuclear reprocessing plant and MOX rods, spent MOX rods, and retired waste. That is the precursor to the fast breeder reactor, which is going to allow us to do a little bit more work with some fun stuff, but that's going to require orbital science, and we're going to have to get to that point. We've got some stuff back here that we need to work on before I get too excited about a lot of this stuff. I mean, I could be running through all of these, but trust me, we've been just pegging this meter, just trying to get a couple of things done around here, and it's time to make a lot more power. Anyhow, when we get to this, we'll be able to at least, well, we should be able to say one nuclear plant should be able to make 128 megawatts by itself. Now we're going to run 2 of them, which is going to be 240 megawatts of power that will be able to run until we get to the point we can get to the fast breeder reactors. I don't think, and I know this is probably going to be all over the place, but 240 megawatts of power should be more than enough to be able to get us to at least the point that we need to start caring about some of these things over here. I've seen people build massive systems, and yes, we'll probably end up making massive systems, but there's a reason why I'm building this in twos right now, because when the time comes, we're going to be able to upgrade this in place, and then, well, basically take a copy of this system, these generators right here. I'll be able to just grab this right like this and drop this down next to it. We'll have to tear some of this apart, but one of these will be able to run all of that generation right here, which means we'll be able to, again, double down on the generation, which then we'll have a little bit of fun, because the next level of reactor will offer us something that we don't currently have in here, which is automation. I.e., these, I'm going to have to run them like you would run your car. I'm going to have to babysit the gas pedal, do all those kinds of things. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run them wide the heck open, and I'm going to take auto balance off on all of these, as you can see, all the auto balances off on these turbines, so that it just runs wide the heck open until we have 200 stuff. Once we have 200 stuff and we're able to do the 200 of the spent fuel, we'll be able to then do the research with all the power that we've got, and then be able to upgrade these reactors in place. I don't know if we're going to be able to build all of them at this point because of the fact that I'm going to have to also pay attention to this. These are going to be able to make, what did I figure, 15, so my brain no worky. What is that, 75? Not 75, 15 times 3. 45 megawatts each. So we'll be able to do 90 megawatts on top of what we're currently doing right now, which should be enough, hopefully, to run some of this stuff down here, I hope. Anyway, so we can capture at least the majority of the steam that's going to be coming out of those to make water. That will hopefully slow down on the consumption of the coal that we're chewing through once these get in here. This is a very efficient process. Even with the baby reactors, this is a very efficient process. They sip the fuel. I mean, this is going to just not even hardly chew through much. So hopefully we'll be able to make this all go. But anyhow, like I said, I laid out a bunch of stuff, and we're going to kind of go through it carefully here. I think the first thing I am going to do while we're talking is I want to go ahead and unpause all of that down here, I think. So I should be able to do this, but not you, and you. The steam is going to come in right here and here. We need to make sure we get that at least set up right. I don't care if those get built, that's fine. This pipe comes around and goes this direction. We need this, that, this, that. I want to kind of build the pipes and whatnot first. And I have plenty of storages. Kind of the reason why I built this is so I could put some storages for the spent fuel in here, because we're going to need a fair amount of storage over the long period of time. So the storages, radioactive waste storages, I suppose I should probably talk about these too. That dude right here. A special underground storage facility that can safely manage any radioactive waste without causing any danger to the island's population. Leaving a legacy for the next generation to come. Yes. Essentially what it can do, especially as we kind of work through things, is it's a safe place to store your waste that can be radioactive. Now, as far as I know, this spent fuel and the fuels that should be coming in here, spent fuel should have a radioactive level of 2. So that means the quicker it's stuffed into a store, the less pollution we're going to be creating. That will become a problem later on, because we're going to have to then be able to process said stuff into other fuels, which we will be able to do, which will be kind of nice. We'll be able to recycle it. Like I stated, this you can turn into reprocessed uranium. Reprocessed uranium later on down the line when we get there, with a little bit of hydrogen fluoride, can be turned into enriched uranium again, which can then be either turned into a uranium rod or whatever. There's another way later on down the line we'll be able to replenish it, redo this, whatever. Those systems, I'm going to probably build them. I'm either going to build a reprocessing right here, or I'm going to be building it right here. You want to try to keep your processing and your storage as close to everything as possible to attempt to try to keep the radiation down. So we'll go ahead and do that, and I guess this is going to cost an awful lot of concrete slabs, so go ahead and build that as well. And I'm just going to kind of click on a couple of things, and we can let it go from there. I think the uranium fuel as of itself is not radioactive. This stuff, I don't think, if I recall correctly. Let me see. Enriched uranium can get turned into these. Uranium rods are not radioactive, so they can sit out on a belt. It's a neat little thing that they did do with this game that will force you to kind of pay attention to a few things. Anyhow, we are going to do a little bit of changing around as far as the directions of the pipes and whatnot are going to happen over here. I do need to unpause that one so that it will deliver whatever water it's going to be able to make back into this system. This is going to eat the majority of the water it can produce. However, we're going to have to do the same thing that we kind of did the last time, and that is I'm going to need to do something similar to this, but I have a feeling very, very soon, once this is up and kind of running, all the excess water that we're producing here in this system is going to be dumped into this system, and we're going to be converting this up to a backup system, which hopefully the majority of the excess water coming out of here will go to our crops, hopefully. And then once we get the rest of this all built and ready to go, I'm going to go ahead and unpause that. Once we get the rest of this all built up, ready to go, we'll be able to remove all of this. We'll be able to move this system. I'm thinking probably over here somewhere. We might build it like right here, right along this edge, or I will build it back here someplace. I haven't made up my mind up exactly yet, but we are going to move our... This will then be, this will then become the backup power system, and we will be building water however we need to build water. So let's get on through this. I'm going to build a couple of things. You still found a bunch of stinking slag. I wish you would stop digging it. I thought I told you to stop digging it. You keep digging. Oh, I know what's going on. These idiots are probably filling the hole in, aren't they? They shouldn't be. I don't know why you're digging that. I don't know. Whatever. It's fine. We'll see what happens. But yeah, we're going to have to start seriously thinking about a little bit more limestone here fairly soon, because I think, we're okay. But we'll let them build this. I want to make sure I have the storage up and everything ready to go, all the piping, all of this. This is going to cost us a lot of red stuff, so this is going to take a couple of minutes. Okay. I think the stores have been rebuilt enough. We can go ahead and have it build this. Let's just resume construction and let them haul all the parts over. So we should have our current storage capable of being able to do things. Trucks are not going to be able to touch it. Hopefully. I have the belt built into here, so that should be able to deliver whatever we need to deliver. And when we do get to the point where we're ready to start reprocessing, there is plenty of room above the top of this. Now, I believe the next layer of reactor will be able to produce a different flavor of well, like I said, it'll be able to produce MOX fuel and whatever it is. We're going to see here in a minute. Well, in a minute. It's probably going to be a minute because I'm planning on getting to this point for this episode. So we're going to get that reactor built. We're going to let it run. And then, again, like I said, we're going to turn these on. We're going to let them run wide open. And then once we know we're clear on all of the important things, we should be okay. Now, I have been letting this system kind of build its own water, and one of the things you're going to need to be concerned about with these specifically is that these can melt down. And if they do melt down, it's because you did one of two things. You didn't keep enough water in them, or you didn't get rid of the steam quickly enough. So that's the reason why I'm saying I want to run this thing wide the heck open. I'm not going to care whether or not we're wasting fuel at this point. And I do need you guys to build that. Can we please go ahead and build this? What happens when a reactor melts down? And I know they're probably going to say somewhere around in here, but what happens when a reactor melts down is it has to get rid of the issue going, well, it has to get rid of the excess heat that it has built up in its system in order for it to be able to not go nuclear, as the word would be said. So if you notice here, there are multiple connections for water in. This is your theoretical heat exchanger right here. This is the thing that, you know, is pulling heat out of here and puts it into this heat exchanger and then delivers it out into this system. This connection right here goes into the actual containment area, and essentially what happens is if the reactor melts down or gets too hot, what it will do is it will vent steam, and this is very heavily polluted steam, out a chimney into a thing. Now, you theoretically could cram that into something else, and I suppose, I mean, that is kind of a deal that we could do. If it happens, you could get rid of the depleted steam, but I don't think you can even do anything with depleted steam at this point, other than, you know, you could theoretically dump it into this channel here and then run it through something like this. But when it does happen, and that's one of those kinds of things, I want to leave this here so I can see it. When it does happen, it pollutes like crazy, and nothing will kill your people quicker, well, outside of disease, than radiation poisoning. So we're going to try real hard not to have that happen. So with that being said, this is going to need 80 people. I need to go gather a couple of friends up. Let's pick somebody from the other side of the map. It's been a minute. I can't do you guys. Can I do this one? Yes. 90 people. All right. I'm kind of leery on this. How much water have we got in here? None. I'm going to let this run just a little bit. Matter of fact, what I might do is, can you guys just give me a little bit of water, please? Like that much? Can you put like 500 water in that? So you guys should have access to this water. Why don't you export a little bit of water out of there, please? Please. I just want to fill this tank up a little bit. It will overproduce by itself. It will overproduce, but it will take a cycle or two to make enough water. Again, the last thing I want to do is melt this thing down. So I'm going to let them fill that tank up a little bit, and then we'll go from there. We can shut that off for now. I don't want them to... Yeah, they can import. The export I'm not worried about right now. Because, again, the excess that's going to come off of this system, I think we're going to move into our farms. And then we'll see how that all goes. Because this is utterly chewing through the corn. I mean, coal. This is eating more coal than anything else we've got. All right. Sure. I think everybody's set to wide open, right? No auto balance, 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 and no auto balance. All right, wide open, all the way up. Time to blow things up. So the water fills up the central chamber, fuel gets filled into the reactor, and as soon as it gets full, it should start producing heat. All right, we've dumped our stuff in, and we're now producing steam, or at least it did produce some steam. Let's see. 96 water. Come on, go to work. Oh, I need to. You guys are priority trace all the way down. Yeah, I need you guys to be priority top of the line. Priority, top of the line, and then grab that meter down. It just dumped a whole bunch of stuff. Go, don't melt down, please. There it goes. Temperature's coming up. It's kind of a neat animation. It's kind of really, really, really cool. For what it's worth. Transport output steam depleted. Why? Oh, I didn't do that one. Oops. Let's build it, please. That's why we're going to turn it on kind of slow. I want to make sure we're pumping water. And we're just going to throw away the brine for now. 96 steam. Not making much. Go to the next level, 192. I mean, theoretically, I could... How much is this it's going to make right now? This is 192 divided by 48. That's going to be 4 of them. 4? 4? Wait a minute. 4? Since when can you guys do so much? Hang on a minute. Well, I might be doing something stupid. I might be ripping this whole corner out and tying some more onto there. How in the world did I do that wrong? Hang on. No, turn that down. Go back down to 96. Why did I think that was 3? All right, so it's saying our output is full. I don't understand why. It shouldn't be unless something didn't connect over here. All right, so what we're going to do then is I'm going to pause that lift. This can make, by itself, here, I'm going to pause it. If I crank that all the way up, it's 288. I did the math on this. Six. Oh. Right. I'm a genius. Well, you know what we can do? Let's just do the stupid thing then. We can... do this. And I can... do that. There's a way to fix this. There's definitely a way to fix this. I just have to then make sure that the exhaust from this gets traveled out the other way. Sure, we can do that, and then I can do the same thing here when the time comes. Sure, I think we'll just do that then. Let me build this very... well, I guess we can let it run. There's no reason to pause it. Let it run. We'll just run it on low power for a little while, and it can produce the stuff for us. Let me see. Unpause you. And then, yeah, we can just build this. Now I'm going to have to... how much is this going to be? So that's 6 times 48, which is going to be... 288, which is going to need to be at least a level 3 pipe. So I can... you to here, up, and connect. There. And there. I do love it when it does this. Let go. Alright. Well, I suppose we have a whole bunch of parts. You might as well put them to use. Make more goody. I didn't think those numbers made sense. Now, the reason why I say I want to run this thing flat out is because of the fact that it will... We don't have any way of regulating the thing. So essentially what you do with these, if you don't feel like upgrading them or updating them to the next layer or the next level, they'll be okay, but you'll get some automation for them later on that will allow you to then run the auto balance on these. So when you first start them out, you essentially just want to do exactly what I'm doing right here, which is run them wide open until you accumulate the amount of fuel that you require. I suppose we should put the fuel on our list so we can watch it. We need 200 of that before we can move on. Now that I have plenty of stuff, I think what we'll do is we'll let our boxes fill up a little bit, and I may or may not go ahead and build the rest of this thing. I can copy most of it and flip it and get it at least ghosted. But we will end up putting, once we get to a point here where we're getting everything done, what we will do is we will use these bottom two down here as our coasters, meaning they're going to be the ones that will, the top, I should say the top. Well, let me quit, just shut up and we'll get there. Once I get everything built, once everything gets sorted, I should now be able to start actually like turning on all of this stuff. So I'm going to start hiring some people, and I'm going to start finishing this build. We need a lot of people. So, but I do want to kind of make sure we don't overstay our welcome with this water. But I'm going to start finishing the rest of this. All right, well, in the process of building a few things, I think we've run into an issue. We're about out of that goodness right here, and they have managed to chew through almost all of it. I wish they would dig a little bit more. We should be good enough. I'm going to start working on building a train station over here while I wait on the rest of this system to complete. We need to wait for at least 400 of the construction parts 4 to be able to do a couple of other things here, and you were supposed to have upgraded by now, please, so that we can turn on the rest of this. We're at 122. I do intend on running something at least this large for the foreseeable future, but we're going to have to kind of concern ourselves fairly soon, because we're chewing through the limestone because we're chewing through the construction parts, because we're keeping both of these boxes nice and empty. But yeah, I need to come up with a way to mine and well, effectively mine this mess out without making a mess out of what we already have over here. So just letting you guys know, we're still working. Alrighty then, looking at that, I was about to get ready to turn this thing on. I just got done taking care of this little mess that's over here. We were going to start a ramp down and in because of the way that the limestone is working, but we ran out, so we're running a train from here all the way over to there. It's doing a little, it's doing okay. We've got a lot to dig, so the idea is going to be the ramp's going to go down and then in underneath of this, because the limestone, at least right here, if you look at it, there's about 4 levels of rock or dirt on top of that, so I set the ramp to be about that far down here and then go in that direction. But then we kind of ended up needing a bunch of limestone, so I went ahead and just had him start digging into the mountain. That will eventually cause a problem over here where they're going to have to drive around some of this, so I may have to change some of how this is all going to work, but that should at least work for the time being. I do have to fix this train station over here because I stuck it a little bit too far this direction, because the train comes to about right here and stops, and I kind of wanted it about right there. Either way, we should be all right, at least to catch up with things. Biggest problem is we're just barely got to the edge of where I was concerned about it. Most everything is okay. I have shut down a few of the buildings that we need to get things going with. And sure, problem is right now, I am kind of hitting that corner where I was busy doing way too much of the construction things in here, and we used a massive amount of stuff, massive amount of a lot of things. I emptied their wood box, I emptied the copper box. We're still working on an empty steel box. I had to go ahead and add in another tree cutter just to catch up on this mess. And yes, just in order to be able to put this one in place. So anyhow, what we're going to do now that we've hit the 200 mark here for this, This, I believe, will hold 1,000 waste. Or no, it's 20. Wow, I thought they used to hold 1,000. They must have changed that number. That is fantastic. This stuff, as far as I know, will not decay. You will have to process it into something else in order for it to decay. Something we'll be able to play with later on. And as far as I know, it is not causing any major massive pollution, although our air pollution is back up again. I'm going to have to do a few things about that. We did have a little bit of a problem because of the fact I ran out of, well, wood and a couple other things. Our household goods got a little bit behind. This truck, for whatever reason, is still getting mad about the fact that it seems to get stuck over here because it wants to fill those lines up over there. I do not know why. We'll just do this for now. Does that make you feel better? Go over there. Quit being a pain. Anyhow, sometimes the structure and how those things work just kind of acts a little silly. Anyhow, we got the stuff coming in. I'm going to use this little corner for a little while until we have our storages over here back filled. I may have to go ahead and have to make another train. But in order for us to be able to upgrade this, I need to start ever so slowly working on the science that it takes to get this to work. I am under production right now. I was kind of hoping to maybe let that box fill up. So I think we're going to let it run for a minute. As far as I know, everything is running as best it possibly can at this point. Nothing seems to be slow. It's just that, well, we hit a point where everything is really just chewing through what little bitty resources we currently have. And again, this is just barely enough production. I'm still considering doing a massive rebuild on the entirety of all of our smelting, all of our stuff, and it's just been kind of waiting on more power. Once we get more power, we can rebuild. Well, once we get several of these set up, ready to go, we can revisit production, at least for steel and whatnot. But I did go ahead and shut some of the coal fire stuff down here, so we have this little line down here as far as backup power. It is getting used just a little bit, but not a lot. I want to let this run a little bit, I think, and see if we can't back up our storages a little, because we are definitely hurting for supplies at this point. That was a lot of construction parts. I'm not going to lie, that was a lot of construction parts. We have chewed through the construction parts, which is pretty cool, yes, but it's cost me a fair amount of time. Anyhow, I'm going to let this run. I just wanted to catch you guys up for a second here. I want to let this run and start filling this back up. It shouldn't be too long, I don't think, before we can start running science. I will then run probably just one or two of these. I do believe we have the production to make everything run at this point, but I would like to get all of this kind of, well, I'd like to get the office supplies, the furniture and the electronics back up so that we can at least get some more unity out of our people. So I will be back once this is ready to go. Okay, good. All right, I think everything has calmed down except for the diesel. I think one thing I might do before we do the dirty is we do have the ability to do a little bit of something right here. A good portion of our diesel fuel is going out here to this area and is being offloaded out into the rest of the world. And again, as I stated, we could theoretically be utilizing some of this wonderful stuff that has been sitting here. Continuously have been getting alarms for these two particular farms not being able to empty everything that they have. I say what we do for the moment, at least for right now. I would like, if at all possible, to throw down one little thing while we kick this on. So what we're going to need to do for the next research is I want to research this, and that is going to be 4,000 research. That should not take very long if all four of those all four of these can run for the moment. Now, I do have a bunch of things turned down right now, and I think the first thing we're going to do is turn a few things back up now that everything is caught up. You, and let's see how much we break doing that. Well, we build one little thing, which is going to be I want to, just for the time being, use some of that stuff to make a little bit of fuel. So before I get excited, I'm going to just put that down on a 1. Diesel fuel, while we're sitting here waiting, diesel fuel. Produced in a chemical plant 2 with oil and ethanol. I'm going to build one of those right here. We're going to grab a small tank. Actually, I don't even think I'm going to grab a small tank. I'm going to just use this as a way of trying to get rid of certain things. Let's do this. I want a chemical plant. Mark II. And I'm going to put it right here. And you're going to get a recipe set to produce diesel fuel out of very expensive cooking oil and not so expensive ethanol. Which sides is everything going to come out of? Okay, cool. What I want to do is I'm not even going to make it make sense. Essentially, all I want it to do right now is I want it to grab a little bit of a pipe, come off of here, connect right to there, and then I'm going to grab this side of this tank right here somewhere, like right there. Actually, let's see if we can't just make that look pretty. We should be able to come off of right here and then just kind of come over all of that and connect right there. And then we need to drag this pipe. Cool. And just do that. Because we're having a hard time maintaining diesel all of a sudden, and I figure what I could do, if nothing else, what I can do is every time I hear that thing yell at me, I can just turn this on until this fills up, because the majority of our fuel is going out towards this over here. So anyhow, we are still kind of waiting on this to fill up. I figured I'd just go ahead and do it now. I want to get this done. So I'm going to do that for right now. We're going to run this research. This won't take very long. We will be right back once it's ready to go. I'm going to hope to not run out of Unity in the time it takes to have that done. But does that output full? Good. That's all I wanted to see, is it do that. So that should provide 54 diesel fuel out this direction, which will help to keep this tank and all of our trains filled. And we should be running at least 2 trains of limestone at this point, so our boxes are nice and filled up. Good deal. Everything else looks pretty good. I've started to change the iron direction over here because there's an awful lot of iron sitting there under the ground. And that's what I was waiting on. I don't know why we're suddenly out of power, though. What did you do? Oh, yeah, that's probably true. We probably are out of power. How about you, put some people back to work? Go. Oh, hell, I think we're stable now. I was busy trying to do a couple of things after the research got completed because a lot of little things kind of happened all at once. We did get the second reactor built, and we've been kind of running some of the things. I've got most of this all turned on and ready to go, and then I've been doing calculations in math. We had a kind of a quick perfect storm there that all happened at once, and I didn't have the recording software on. I do apologize. Our coal was acting up because they didn't listen to me, and now I have to redo what they were doing. So somehow I managed to build a ramp back here. What I was trying to do was dig up a little higher than what I had before, and somehow they built a ramp down, so that's done ruined all of that area. So we're just going to have them go ahead and level that platform out and keep digging where they were going. We're kind of just under the coal at this level, so it's going to be kind of a nightmare. But yeah, they were making a mess anyway. And then we had a mess over here with the sand, which is again about done. We're having to do a couple of little very careful surgical removals of a couple of things here because there's a bunch of coal right here. So I want them to kind of dig this out. We're going to clean that hill up, and then I'm going to dig down into what's left here. There's an awful lot of sand. But, you know, as dumb things are and the way things go, you do need to pay attention to your dumping areas to make sure that your digging areas are not overlapping your dumping areas so that your excavators aren't sitting there filling in, well, digging up holes that you're filling in at the same time. So, yeah, we just had a couple of really quick little things happen. Converted a couple of things over here. I think we're doing okay as far as all these go, and I think it's probably about time to build another one of these, looks like. So let's grab you while we're at it, and we should be able to do this. Maybe. Do that, and then we'll put a really quick little thing. Like perfect storm stuff happening. I happen to notice that we're also starting to have a little bit of problem with our oil, and that is because we're down to needing a new oil patch. This one has about 7 years left, and it's slowing its production slightly. So I went ahead and turned this platform on, and it's now going to start producing for us, so we have a bunch more oil to play with. We're going to have to start caring about that fairly soon, I think, because I think we have one platform after that left, which means we're going to have to start maybe thinking about mining our own oil again. We do have oil over here, although there's not an awful lot of it. There's some right there in that spot, and then there should be another oil patch over here we can get to finally, so we can certainly start trucking or piping that in. And then there's a massive oil patch over here, I believe, something like that. There's one right there, and then there's another couple of them over here. We could theoretically start sending our friends over here now that they've got the island over here found. But as we see here, they found the island. They're starting to fill in the ocean between here and there's a ton of quartz sitting underneath all of our rocks. So I guess in between episodes, or didn't bother tell y'all, we started to mine a new pathway in between here and the other side of the mountain. This is technically the same level here to here. So I've had them dig through a very narrow passageway here, and that likely will be ending up somehow connected to this rail system eventually. But what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of dig a channel through here very well, crudely, I should say, and then we'll see where we end up when that time comes. But yeah, we may need to start seriously thinking about building our own oil and some of the other things that we need to worry about and getting forward. So sadly, I had built the issue here, and I kind of shut a couple of things off because I was testing a few things. You can go back to work for now. So I did go ahead and build the second one, but I have not turned it on since the thing got sorted out, or since our science or research got completed. I've been digging through a couple of the other things. I was about to start laying back into those because I think we need to start working on one of the pollutions again. It's starting to get a little gross and around various places. We were looking at this one. Now, this will now allow us to, we have all the accumulated things and everything is done there. That's been researched. This is going to give us the nuclear reactor 2, which I am very excited to play with, as well as nuclear reprocessing, MOX rods, spent MOX, and retired waste. Now, I just got done editing a good portion of this episode out, and we are at time, so I'm going to just cut it out here. We're going to upgrade and update the processing, and we're going to actually have to kind of take a look at a few things, because I do believe the nuclear reactor Mark II makes a lot more steam. So I know I have all this stuff built out, and I had to go back and look at a prior save that I have just to make sure. It will be able to run all of these. So we're well underpowered as far as what we need to do. We should be, I don't know how I want to build this. I may kind of tear this apart and do a little bit more fooling around. I've been sketching kind of over there. There's a little thing that I'm not going to show yet, but I've been sketching what I think I want to do with this. Just know that we're going to start next episode by probably tearing this plant almost completely apart and starting over. So that will go through as well with a proper shutdown of one of these as to way this goes, so that we don't overheat it, don't melt it down. But I need to kind of let things balance out. I've got to fix the sand problem first, which might mean that in between episodes what I'm going to be doing is making another sand thing. I think we might accidentally, for the time being, I mean, we're not out of sand yet, and we were getting to a point where we were having a problem. High supply of coal. High supply of coal. Loose. How you have high supply of coal? You guys have been digging coal. That's not great. Can you empty this, please? Somewhere? Thank you. That should have gone someplace. Yes, there's a big coal patch right here that we're going to have to start worrying about, and I have been sorting it slowly, but yeah, the sand was right towards the end of me trying to get a bunch of science done. The sand started having problems because they were over here digging on this wall or digging somewhere over. I think it was like right here, somewhere right around in here, and we were filling it in, so they kept digging the rock and moving it over here and digging the rock and moving it over here instead of coming over here to clean up what's left of this little pile. There's not a whole lot left, so yeah, we need to let everything kind of idle for a little bit. We can make a little bit of fuel, do whatever we need to do, and I need to start really thinking about a new sand patch, which may mean we need to start building a rail line over to here, or maybe what we do now that we have marginal access to this island is actually grind it up and make quartz out of it. But that will be for a next time. We're going to continue the project of digging this apart once I get, well, tearing it apart, rebuilding it, once I get a couple of other things going. And yeah, you need to stop putting water over there because we may have a problem either way. So, and by the either way, I mean, once we get done rebuilding this, we're going to have to rebuild all of this too. So I suppose while I'm over here, I'm going to unpause those guys and let them make some more water. So I will see you all once I stabilize out a few things. And yeah, next time. See ya. It's been fun.